Travis Holmes with Fans First Sports Network, the Duval Dive Podcast, and BigCatCountry.com here with your Jacksonville Jaguars update. Uh, Jaguars head coach Liam Coen has been making his rounds at the NFL owners meeting taking place down in Palm Beach, Florida, the 3-day event where NFL owners are and NFL leadership, management, head coaches are all making their votes on the different projected rule changes, and also kind of just doing all the photo ops and all the NFL things that they do kind of every year. But in that in that process, they also had the media availability, the media day, where the head coach, he kind of gathered with the assembled media, talked about a few different things from Jacksonville Jaguars roster management to their philosophies on drafting to this upcoming class and April's NFL draft. So we got you guys covered at bigcatcountry.com. So definitely please lock it in. We have your top 10 takeaways from Liam Cohen's media availability posted there. Also, the Jaguars socials, Jaguars YouTube, and Action Sports Jack's Brent Martineau on YouTube also have their selective interviews posted there for those of you who have the full 40 minutes. Otherwise, I got you guys. Come on, man. That's what I'm here for. So, and Brent Martineau had his 8-minute interview with Liam Coen, and Coen opened this bad boy up kind of interesting because he did bring something to my attention that I honestly didn't think about. The fact that Luke Fortner is a former Kentucky center, Jacksonville Jaguars backup center who has experience in Liam Cohen's offense. In addition to Robert Hainsey, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers starting center, who is now the Jacksonville Jaguars presumptive starting center, also has experience in the most recent iteration of Liam Cohen's offense from his time in Tampa Bay. So now essentially the first string offense, the second string offense will both have someone able to kind of filter that information, kind of help with the communication, kind of help with the protections, etc. Because they already have experience with the language, experience with the offense. So I think that was kind of a cool thing. But here's Cohen telling you himself, man.
How much will he do that, speaking a little bit of that language, and how quick can you hit the ground running with Trevor when you get him in?
Yeah, I think it's for an entirety, for an offense in general, having players that have been in the system helps. Like, even Luke Fortner has been in a version of the system, which is actually kind of cool to have both your centers be in a version of the system, right? Obviously, Robert being in the newest version, but we can't use it as a crutch, right? Everybody's going to have to really dive into the system and get involved in it. But it's going to be helpful for so many, not just Trevor, not just the quarterbacks, having centers that know the calls, understand the language, speak the same language. That's going to help out so many more players. That'll reach out to the tight ends. That'll reach out to the receivers and running backs. So it'll be helpful to have some of those guys for sure.
Man, and he basically said it himself. Like that's going to help with the communication. It's going to help Trevor Lawrence. It's going to help all the surrounding players. So I'm here for anything that's going to make it better for those guys. He also additionally mentioned the fact that the majority of the offensive coaching staff also has experience in his system, whether it's the offensive line coach, the running back coach, and he did name like two more coaches. So I think that was kind of ideal. I think that was kind of beneficial for those guys. Quarterback coach, O-line coach, and running back coaches also have experience in that same protection system, specifically is what he stated. He also went, I guess on his own accord, discussed the fact that the Jaguars secondary has sort of been stabilized with the additions of Eric Murray, the Jaguars safety, with the addition of Jordan Lewis, the Jaguars cornerback and potential slot cornerback, maybe playing a little bit of both with those additions. And I thought that was really interesting. He's basically stated on the defensive side, you really look at Jordan Lewis to be able to bring another veteran defensive back in here to help settle things down on the back end, increasing competition with, safety Eric Murray. I think we've done a nice job with being able to get those players in that'll help settle things, and we'll be able to create a balanced football flow that we've been looking for. Balanced football. I like that. Dan Griffin on socials, Action Sports Stats, Dan Griffin, he actually posted earlier this season one of his famous stats that he's definitely good for, just discussing everything that Jordan Lewis is and more. I mean, without looking at the actual tape, like he's absolutely one of the top slot cornerbacks in the league. First in target percentage at 12.6%, fourth in completion percentage, 62.5. He's fourth in the league at quarterback rating allowed at 75. He's a ball hog as far as getting his hands on the ball on 17.5% of those throws, and he's in his tight window throws. He's top third in the league. He's third in the league. Again, that's Dan Griffiths on all the different socials. But more importantly, he also posted that uh, Jordan had 116 snaps outside, so as an outside corner, with 606 as a slot corner back in 2024. So he has the experience both playing as an outside corner, maybe on early downs, and then playing in the slot on the late down. So he absolutely does stabilize that defense in very many ways. And the same thing applies for Eric Murray, a veteran leader who's going to be in the right spots, as the team is kind of transitioning from, Andre Cisco. So I think I would kind of understand at least their viewpoint. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to work or not, because we'll see when they get on the grass. But at the end of the day, I understand their philosophy and kind of where they're looking for as far as the stabilization of that defensive backfield is concerned. And I still expect them to draft at least one safety, maybe even two, in April's NFL draft. So we'll kind of see where that lands. But nevertheless, on we go to the tight end talk. When asked about the decision to move on from Pro Bowl tight end Evan Ingram and wide receiver Christian Kirk, Coen had this to say. Yeah, it's always hard letting go of good football players. I have a ton of respect for both of those guys. They've done some really good things here, but those were not easy decisions. Ultimately, you got to let good football players go, right? But production. Those guys did have a good amount of targets, receptions, and some critical plays in different moments of different years. So there's some chemistry, some camaraderie there. I'm sure we have to continue to work on. But I think you saw what BT and Trevor were able to do last year. And then obviously with some guys like Parker Washington had great connection. And you start to see some of those guys evolve. We're like, okay, this allows us to do more different things with our roster structure and feel confident that we're going where we're going moving forward. But most importantly, what he then said and gushed about was Brenton Strange. And I was here for all that conversation because the film backs it up. You see Brenton making his block early on, dominating against the Jets, and I thought that was great. But he said Brenton plays the game the right way. I'll say that for sure. I love the way he competes through the whistle. He goes through the whistle, plays with an edge. He's got some twitch. He's strong. He'll get his hands on you in blocking. I really appreciate it. He'll elevate the room just by being, who he is, and by getting more reps, he's going to elevate himself. Getting him on the field is a good thing for us, and you can tell he's hungry. Like, ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Like, obviously, the run game's important. Obviously, they care about guys who are going to be able to block. And we've already had that conversation. That was a big reason that I believe they moved on from Evan Ingram, is because Brenton Strange was just a significantly better blocker. And he's actually a true balanced tight end, able to do both things. But he stated, he's doing some nice things with breaking of tackles, getting extra yards, and what he does, the nice things with the ball in the air, especially after the catch. How do you argue with that, man? The film backs up the fact that Brent Strange is a dominant blocker, and he's also a really solid receiver in the passing game. So I got nothing to say about that. Again, I think a lot of us have kind of made those same arguments. So we'll just have to see if that is how this thing goes. He also discussed Colorado wide receiver / cornerback Travis Hunter, and basically stated that the team was going to have to be amendable, was going to have to be flexible as far as where he's going to land, what position he would kind of play. If the Jaguars were so fortunate to have him land in their lap, if they were able to snag a player of his caliber in this draft, then there would have to be a conversation between the training room, between the offensive staff, between the defensive staff, and how much he could handle both physically, mentally, as far as the playbook is concerned, over the scope of an entire NFL season, and kind of come to that conclusion of what does he do best when they get him on the actual field and in the actual locker room. And maybe at that point, the decision will be made that maybe he needs to be a full-time cornerback or a full-time receiver or a two-way player, and kind of figure out what that looks like. So he's smart not to show his cards in that way, on the off chance they are able to get someone like Travis Hunter, and then they can kind of just be flexible and figure out where that lands and what that's going to look like. I understand that. I'm here for a good answer. Cool. But the biggest takeaway that I took from this presser was one of the questions that was asked of him when discussing what it looks like to be intangibly rich. We've seen this conversation with James Gladstone take place many times where someone would directly ask him, "Hey, what is intangibly rich?" And he would normally answer in some kind of a way saying, well, you just think of all the things that you would normally think of, what you'd be looking for when you're looking at an NFL athlete. Like, it's those things I'm looking for. But he would never directly say, I'm looking for a player that is this, a player that shows the grit, a player that shows whatever the thing is. Like, it's very rare that we've actually heard a direct answer on that. But I thought today was interesting because Coach Coen did, on a few different occasions, kind of intimate, like, hey, intangibly rich means someone who loves to play the game. It is at their core who they are. Again, there's probably 3 to 4 different examples, but I did pull one of them from the Action Sports Jax Brett Martineau in one-on-one interview. So take a listen.
For us, we are trying to get some guys in there that truly are competitors, that love the game, that will mesh well with our current locker room and continue to elevate it in different ways.
That we keep hearing intangibly rich, but how much did you target edge on some of these guys? I think of a Jordan Lewis. Looks like he plays with some of that. And
that's right.
Did you identify that you needed some of that in this locker room?
That's right. Guys that love playing football, like truly love everything about it. They love the grind. They love the process, right? Because process does drive results. And so for us, we are trying to get some guys in there that truly are competitors, that love the game, that will mesh well with our current locker room. And
that was a big takeaway for me because, again, this is not the one time he said it. He said it in the Jaguars.com press availability that was aired on their social. So again, I would definitely recommend you guys take a listen to all of that. And he said it at least twice during Brett's interview. The reason that was a big thing for me is because it's been a big argument, not just in the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base, but also across national media, across the fantasy football guys, from pretty much everyone, discussing Arizona wide receiver Tech McMillan, on whether or not he should be a top 5 pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, whether he should be picked at 5, because the Jaguars have a pretty solid, pretty good need, as for a wide receiver too, an explosive wide receiver too. And Tech McMillan is absolutely that. He is a very explosive receiver who is great at contested catches. On about half of his catches, he is freaking 6'5", very explosive, within his routes for that size. But his comments that came out within the different the social media posts, I think if you haven't heard it already, we have a clip of it for you. But the gist of it is he doesn't like watching film on his own. You take a listen for yourself.
I don't ever need to watch it by myself. We go over as a receiver group. I don't watch football.
You don't watch football? At all?
At all.
Is it hard to watch film then if you don't like watching football?
Yeah.
For real? That's crazy.
I don't like watching film either. I don't ever need to watch it by myself because we go over as a receiver group.
And a lot of people have their opinions of that. That's a hard thing for me to kind of mirror to a coach who's absolutely out here saying, hey, I need guys who at their core, this is who they are. They are NFL football players. They love the process because the process leads great results. And then mirroring that to someone saying, hey, I don't like to watch film by myself because we do it as a team. I don't like watching football because I just don't like. And that's a rough, I don't know how to make those two things come together. If you're saying that I'm bringing offensive linemen in because this is who they are, I'm bringing these defensive backs in because they love everything about ball, I'm bringing all these people in because this is everything to them and they're going to grind and figure out ways to get this right. And then you're going to say, all right, but I'm also going to bring this other guy in who's publicly stated that this is not my thing. This is not what I'm all about. This is not what drives me, if that makes sense. So I don't have this super strong opinion of it, but I do allow other people's words and actions speak for themselves. And I think at least with Liam Cohen's words in this situation, he's shown us, hey, this is what we're looking for. And in my personal opinion, if that is what you're looking for, then someone making those words of, I don't enjoy this process. I'm not about that grind, if that makes sense. I am just about being the most athletic guy naturally for my God-given talent. that works, and it may have worked in college, but that may or may not work in the NFL when everyone is athletically gifted in that way. So that leaves me to a little bit of concern as far as whether or not he would truly be as high on his board as he may be for some other teams who may not have a problem with that, or may feel like they have the locker room to support that kind of a philosophy or that thought process from their incoming top 10, top 15 pick receiver. So that's just my personal opinion. You let me know. You read the article on bitcatcountry.com. You check out the videos on jaguars.com and Action Sports Jackson. Just again, let me know your feelings within the Big Cat Country comments. Let me know your feelings on the Duval Dive YouTube. Like and subscribe, please. If you're listening to us on YouTube, help the algorithm, help this keep this thing going. But more importantly, also wherever your podcast, if you're listening, absolutely please rate and review us. We appreciate you guys. We will hit you up on Wednesday's Duval Dive, where we will have Mr. Dan Griffiths of Action Sports Jacks on, and we will be discussing, I'm sure, everything stat related, everything free agency related, everything Jacksonville Jaguars related, because we answer the questions that you guys have for us. So Duval, let's go. Later, y'all.